Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones, and in this segment, I'm going to talk about voting because we don't have too long before we start voting. In fact, the voting process for early voting starts at the end of this month. Now, the reason why I'm doing this video is because we are going to have a number of people who will be voting. And here's the problem. Many of us are going out to vote and we don't have any idea of who and what we are voting for. So, tonight's topic, I'm going to talk about knowing your representatives before you vote. So the title of tonight's video is You Should Know Your Representatives Before You Vote for Them. You should know your representatives before you vote for them. Very important because we live in a country and it is divided. It's been divided for the last 20 years with some close elections. But the reason why it's been divided, it's because there is a lot of fear mongering on both sides, a lot of identity politics, and furthermore, what I see is a number of individuals who have no interest in voting, and we have a number of individuals who are uninformed voters. From my humble opinion, voting is a right. But now voting is not a right for people who have lost that vote or who have lost that right to vote, like your criminals and illegals. But you have two political parties who are basically career bureaucrats. And I say that because at the end of the day, when it comes to politics, politics is about issues. The problem that I see with politicians today, and it's been happening for a very long time, you have what we call the deep state. The deep state is filled with corruption. These are individuals who have been in politics all their lives. And some of these individuals are appointed officials. We don't vote for appointed officials. However, the appointed officials are the ones who are leading their particular departments. They become secretaries. They're in the executive branch. Now, going back to knowing your representatives, many individuals are going to see that ballot. And they're going to see things on that ballot they've never seen before. And this election is not just going to feature the top of the ticket with the presidential election. Wherever you live, you may have a gubernatorial race, and also some of your local politicians may be running as well. But regardless of who's running, you need to get a handle on what their voting record is. Now, I'm going to read something to you. I got this in the mail from Congressman, if you can see it, Jim Baird. Now, during the political season or the election, you're going to get a number of these postcards that come in the mail. What do most of us do with them? We throw them away because we have no interest. But you need to take interest because these are the individuals that are counting on our vote to maintain their careers. Now, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on, you need to know what's best for you. If you go out and you throw your vote away just because you don't like Trump, then you don't need to vote. Because at the end of the day, you need to look at where you are. And you cannot listen to the media. The media has a big influence on telling people how to think and what to think. You need to look at these protests. They started off being about George Floyd. Now they're about the real truth. It's turning this country into a Marxist country. Are you going to vote for that? Some people are. You also need to look at your left-wingers defunding the police. Well, if you look at cities like Chicago and Baltimore and Houston and St. Louis and New York, Milwaukee, Gary, Indiana, Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Houston, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Los Angeles, California, and Miami, to name a few, throw Atlanta in there, you see a rise in violent crimes. Why? Because these big cities are run by Democratic liberals. And for the past 60, 70, 80 years, these cities have always been run by Democrats. And most of the cities that have been run by Democrats have high welfare, single motherhood. They have a lot of violence. You look at Chicago. I moved an hour from Chicago. Now I'm 2 hours from Chicago, and I'm still hearing about Chicago. Chicago is not a safe place to live. And you have a number of people talking about F.B.G. Duck, who was a rapper, singing about dead rappers. To me, that's disrespectful. And he was murdered in the city of Chicago. And when it comes to Black Lives Matter, you got to understand that when you vote. Do all Black Lives matter? Where's Jesse Jackson? Where's Al Sharpton? Where's Barack Obama? They're nowhere to be found. Where's Louis Farrakhan? Where's Al Sharpton? When there's a white cop that kills a black person, they're all out there. And then you have to look at what Barack Obama did at the John Lewis funeral. He was given a political speech during the funeral to attract black voters. You have to look at what these politicians are doing before you vote for them. Look at their voting record. Like, again, I got this in the mail from Jim Baird. He's a congressman. You know, his office is in Danville, Indiana. Of course, he's a congressman. And when you look at this little pamphlet, you need to go on the back. You need to find out what he supports. Now, I'm a guy that believes in STEM. So Jim Baird believes in strengthening education and healthcare. So I'm going to read you what he says about education, particularly STEM education. He says, as a member of the space, science, and technology community, Congressman Baird has been a strong advocate for STEM education. He is a co-sponsor of a bipartisan bill, which is the building blocks of the STEM Act, which provides additional funding for STEM programs. If you're not familiar with STEM, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, I have a second channel that is dedicated to STEM. It's called the Mind of STEM channel. I just uploaded a video on there this afternoon, and I talked about temperature. STEM is very big because you have a lot of career opportunities, but STEM needs more funding. Now, again, he believes in STEM. I'm talking about Congressman Jim Baird. Now, he also talks about healthcare. When it comes to healthcare, Congressman Baird has pushed to lower healthcare costs and bring greater transparency to consumers with the Protecting People from Surprise Medical Bills Act. Sounds like a typographical error, but I know where he's going. Now, something else that he supports. He supports law enforcement. He says our law enforcement officers play an essential role in helping to make our communities a safe place to live and raise a family. They deserve our appreciation and respect for the sacrifice they make to protect us all. Congressman Baird opposes the extreme demands of defunding our police departments. Accountability of those sworn to serve and protect is very important, which is why Congressman Baird supports the Justice Act. The legislation includes meaningful reforms that will allow for more training, transparency, accountability, while maintaining qualified immunity. Now, this is some of the things that he says he's for. Now, this came from a postcard, but you have to ask yourself, where's his website? Where's his voting record? Many of us don't take the time to research these candidates. Also, what goes on ballots are ballot initiatives. They may be doing some gerrymandering with some of the political districts. Many of us don't know that. Why? Because we don't ask. Politics is part of we the people. And if we the people continue to put politicians who make bad policy in office, this country is going to fail. A number of these politicians have been in office for a long time. And my job as an informed voter is to inform other voters to vote with their purse strings, vote with logic, not emotion. You have to find out what type of country you want. If you want a socialist country, vote for the guys on the left. If you want a country that believes in families, religion, capitalism, strong schools that have school choice, vote for the guys on the right. Now, when it comes to voting, I'm talking about the national election right now. But within that national election, some states, like Indiana, to where I reside, is also going to have a gubernatorial race. So you're going to have to vote for the governor. You're also going to have to vote for state representatives who are in the House and Senate as well. Now, it's pretty easy to find out who your national representatives are in the Senate. I know Mike Braun is one of our senators. Of course, Donald Trump is at the top of the ticket. And I know Eric Holcomb is our governor. But you have to go look deeper, find out who's running your local elections when it comes to your school boards. Because right now, you have a number of individuals out there who aren't really serious about voting. They want to go and vote because they hate the guy who's in power, but the guy who's in power right now is doing everything he can to save this country. Now, again, you can vote for who you want to vote for, but as people, we get the government we deserve by not doing our due diligence. Part of being an informed voter is knowing who your representatives are. And one of the best ways to find more about your elected officials is to find out when they're going to have debates, when they're going to have town hall meetings, when are they going to have dinners. Now, a lot of these politicians, as you know, are paid off. Special interests, corporations, unions. But you need to find out on your own what their voting record is. Why? Because you put somebody who says one thing on a postcard, and you go and find out that's not what they say, but you vote for that guy, then you wasted your vote. You voted for a liar. Now, again, I don't trust any politicians. But when you're the average American, we are always at the mercy of politicians. Why? Because we don't make the money that politicians make. See, people like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they make a lot of money. So regardless of who's in office, policies aren't going to affect them as much. But your everyday person who's making between no money and $100,000 or even up to $200,000, we are going to be affected. And what I'm here to do is give you solid information before you go into the voting booth. And also, have an ID. There are some Democrats who don't want voter IDs. Why? Because they want to steal the election by allowing illegals to vote, dead people to vote. Well, you have to ask yourself, what's wrong with an ID? I have to have an ID when I go into BMV. I have to have an ID when I go into the Social Security office. I have to have an ID when I go to my college. I have to have an ID when I go into a park because I work for the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. So in order for me to do some inspection, I have to show the person at the gate my ID. Again, the Democrats don't want ID. They want to steal the election. Now, as an informed voter, you want to keep your mind off of the mainstream media because the mainstream media is very biased. I'm talking about both sides. Fox News used to be more Republican, but I believe Fox News is going to the same place, which is left, as your MSNBC, your Alphabet channels, and your CNN. Don't let the media affect who you're voting for. Now, the media can be a good source. Go underground with media sources like OAN, Patriot.com, Newsmax TV, Conservative Talk Radio. Now, if you're on the liberal side, the Alphabet channels are exactly where you need to go. And on the liberal side, also, you have all of the print media. Furthermore, you have the colleges and universities. But regardless of the media and schools and corporations, all those establishments have a direct influence in the election. They are part of marketing for both sides of the political party. And when we talk about marketing, there are the 4 P's: price, promotion, place, and product. And with these politicians, you're getting a number of individuals that know how to talk a hole in your head. But if you're not sharp, for the most part, as your average everyday person, we're going to put the wrong people in office. Thank goodness House members are elected every 2 years. It's your senators. They're elected every 6 years. Presidents can only do 2 terms. But regardless, you have to know what you're voting for. Again, on the ballot as well, there are going to be ballot initiatives. Could be defunding Planned Parenthood. Do you know anything about Planned Parenthood? And sometimes what's on these ballots, many people don't even know. You're going to see candidates who are going to be running unopposed. But in the end, the more information you have, the better it is going to be for you as a voter. And you need to participate in the process, even when there aren't any national elections, because politics is local. When it comes to your judges and your school board, participate in that, because when you have good judges, they can help your criminal justice system. When you have a good school board, the school board can provide a good education. Now, I am a little bit suspicious of the public school system, because the public school system is basically predicated from the NEA, which is a strong teachers union. And unions who are on the left, they have a big influence on teachers and state, county, and municipal workers. I was a member of AFSCME. Now, I'm not anti-union, but a lot of these unions do support Democratic candidates. You have a lot of these special interests that you have to be careful of too. You see where I'm going with this, folks? Politicians basically have been bought and paid for. And what's going on now, you have one side that wants schools to start. They want the economy to work. So people like me and others can make money. And out of that, the government gets more revenue as well. And you have another side that wants to keep us on lockdown, because they want to continue to pass socialist policies. And I'm just asking, do you want freedom in your country, or do you want a country that is going to be so tyrannical that they're going to run every aspect of your life? Voting is important. But in order to understand how the voting process works, you're going to have to participate in the political process. And here are ways you can do it as well. Work as a polls worker. Again, go to town hall meetings. Find out what your school board is doing. Start checking on your senator's offices and your congressperson's office. Because we the people, we have to be well organized, well financed, and we have to have an issue. You see, a lot of these corporations, even Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the National Organization for Women, the National Education Association, and you have conglomerates like Amazon, AT&T. The reason why they're going to get everything, they have the money. They know who the best candidate is going to be, so they can get their tax breaks, so they can get their agendas passed. We as regular human beings need to understand that if we become part of the political process, we can bring a much effective government into power. Now again, the system is not perfect. But in America, we have representative government. And it's up to us. We have the power. We have to learn how to use it. Many of us don't care to use it. Many of us love our lives the way they are because we're not accountable or responsible for anything. But when it comes to this process, you need to do research on all of the candidates that you're voting for. Now, I know some may vote a straight Democratic ticket. Some may vote a straight Republican ticket. You have to vote the people in that are going to help enhance your life. Now, I'm not saying depend on a politician, but again, we have representative government. And once you understand the system, if you feel or you believe, I don't want to use the word feel, I'm going to use the word believe. If you believe that the person you elected is not doing the job, you run. And I think we should have more people who are common folk run, because a number of us have common sense. Now, I'm not saying all of us know about politics, because everybody who's common cannot be a president, cannot be a senator, cannot be a legislator. But we can be on the grassroots level. We need to continue not to allow the media to influence our decisions. Now, you have a lot of race baiting going on out here. And at the end of the day, as a regular, common person, I know what's going on. But it has to be more than me that knows what's going on. Because everybody's vote is going to count. Now, I don't know what type of election it's going to be. I've heard it's going to be a close election. Heard it's going to be a landslide. But if you take the tools that I'm giving you, and the biggest tool is to research your candidate. Again, if you get this in the mail from a congressperson, before you throw it away, take a look at it. This should give you an indicator to go to that congressperson's website and find out what they voted for. See what bills they were part of. Because you have some of them that do their 2 years and they leave. Some do 4, some do 6 years. Most of them are career politicians. But when you get postcards like this in the mail, take advantage of them. Because on that postcard, it gives you their phone number in Washington, and it gives you their phone number here in the state. See, I got sent that information from Congressman Jim Baird because I'm in his district. Utilize all the information that these politicians give you. If there's something not going on in Washington, take place and utilize the information. You see, when you know about your politicians, you can hold them accountable. And I said in previous videos, knowledge is power. But many of us, when we go out to vote, we're not going to have any idea who we're voting for. Many of us are being told who to vote for. I'm going to say this. Keep your vote to yourself. Things that individuals don't want to talk about are politics and religion. But they make up our lives. I'm just giving you my point of view on what you need to do when it's time to vote. Many of us are voting for the wrong things. We're voting because we hate somebody. How is that going to benefit the country? You want to see where the country is. If you learn this method during every election, you'll be an informed voter. And I'm going to tell you this, when it comes to schools, corporations, and media, don't let them influence your vote. This is why if you research the candidates for yourself, check out their voting record. If you want to see their tax returns, see if you can do that as well. Join a lobbyist group. Because many of us believe that we waste our vote. I don't believe we waste our vote. A number of us don't know what we're voting for because we don't look into what we're voting for. I'm giving you this information because many of us are uninformed. We're not voting our conscience, we're voting our emotions. And I always ask this, do you want a country that is a dictatorship like China? Want to be like the Chinese Communist Party or old Russia? Or do you want to maintain this country with representative government? As a society, we have to keep an eye on our politicians. We have to make sure that we maintain a proper voting system. Mail-in voting will not work because there's going to be a lot of fraud. Again, you have states who are Democratic, they don't want voter ID. You need an ID. One vote, one person, or one person, one vote. But what I'm saying at the end of the day is know who you're voting for. Check their voting record out. Get involved with the political process. Don't just sit down, because when you sit down, you lose everything. Our country is still here. It's America. Now, you have some people who hate America, but they're benefiting off of America. But we as citizens, we have a right to know what's going on with our representatives. But we need to closely monitor their voting records. Don't take what they're saying as carte blanche. When we do that, we lose out. For the most part, we have to be a smart voter. We have to be informed, and we have to tell other people that they need to vote. Be on the grassroots level. Now, if you want to get into the political system, start a YouTube channel like I have. Start a Blog Talk Radio. I'm going to go over this on my Blog Talk Radio show when I broadcast tomorrow, because I care about our country. Left, right, or indifferent, you should get an idea of who you're voting for. And again, I'm going to repeat myself. If you get something like this in the mail, I know it's going to appear backwards on the camera. Understand that that person, Jim Baird, that I read his information from, he's running for Congress. I want to hold all your Congress people available, because at the end accountable, because at the end of the day, you want a country that's filled with freedom, or do you want a country that's tyrannical? And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show, right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some education, some science education, check out the Mind of STEM channel. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Also, you can check me out on Blog Talk Radio. Guest calling number is 215-383-5785. And if you cannot find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, you can check me out on Twitter and YouTube. At the end of the day, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones. You have a wonderful and blessed night. God bless you.